Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melvin. So just to do a brief introduction of who I am. As you've heard, my name is Edwin Obonyo. I work at Strathmore University. I've been a lecturer there for a couple of years. I'm also part of a team called Strathmore Center of Value Investing. And what we do really is help SMEs grow from a finance perspective, which is we link SMEs to money. But before we link the SMEs to money, we did a bit of training and a bit of consultancy to ensure that the company is okay. It's both financially sound, strategically sound, and operationally sound. So when we talk about being a business growth expert, that's essentially what we ensure that we leave you at a hand where you are well placed to grow. One of the challenges we have here in Kenya, and it may be in Africa in general, is that a lot of SMEs don't know how to grow. They know how to start, but they don't know how to grow. The skills needed at each level are different. And therefore, usually we need to combine what one already knows to the skills that they need to take it to the next level. And so that's what we do at the Center of Value Investing in the University. Right? As part of that, during the business growth, we've worked both with family business and non-family business. We worked with all scenarios, right? For today, I know we focus on the family business, but that's just part of the introduction. And I'll just give some insights of what we have seen, what we have learned from interviews, and what we've also gotten from our own research, right? So that you can be aware of what are the challenges and what are the opportunities within the family business. Since I'm a lecturer, I don't like doing all the talking. At some point, I'll throw in questions, polls, just to get a feel of where we are in terms of understanding some of these issues that family businesses face. So that's pretty much about me in terms of introduction. So I'll take my video off a bit because I'll have to share a screen. But we can start on the chat with you telling me what do you think is the biggest challenge we have with family business in Kenya right now?
Yeah. Let's put our responses on the chat. Accessing capital, greed. Yeah. Somebody said something interesting. Greed, which I think it's true. Access of capital, failure to properly plan succession, founder syndrome, the founder not letting go early enough. That is what Irene says, founder syndrome. Continuity after the founder leaves or dies, which I think is succession. When all the members don't buy in the vision. Know-how, lack of trust, individual interests, governance, lack of planning, lack of trust, siblings, rivalry, and self-entitlement, lack of mentorship. That's by Oyambolale. Assuming children will inherit the business, and they really don't see their future like in that way.
Wow. Okay. I'm seeing very many answers. Thank you so much. Can you see my screen now? I don't know.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
So right now, there's a very big court case. As you can see, me sharing is that nine of us, the kids have taken each other to court, and this is from Daily Nation. So this is something you can just go to Daily Nation on their website, and you read the whole of this article. Okay. Something similar we've already seen with Tuskys. It's funny, they're both big, one of the biggest supermarket chains we have in our country. And yet Tuskys went down and Naivas are having issues as well. And so we're kind of seeing that if 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 the family business is not really kept the right way, then challenges come in the succession element, right? So this is just to give you some short context of what we're talking about in terms of family business. I'll keep on giving examples within the next 1 hour, 45 minutes, and I'll leave the 15 minutes for any questions you may have. Okay. So, as I've seen some of your answers, very varied. Governance, the succession planning, it is very, very interesting, right? No systems, okay, lack of trust, assuming children will inherit. So one of the things we are seeing, and by the way, your answers are all right. So family business have two components to it, which is different from a non-family business. One component of family business is the family itself. Okay, so the family itself outside the business. And then the second component is the family business. Now, all those two are intertwined, and the issues of the family most of the time translate to issues in the family business. By that, what do I mean? I mean that if, let's assume, a family has father, mother, and 3 kids, right? Now, the dynamics within that family, right, will affect the dynamics within the family business. So if any of the siblings at another level have issues with each other, and the issues could not be even something that started recently. It could be issues that started when they were kids, right? So maybe one of the son used to beat the youngest son when he was 5, and the older son was 10. He was bullying him a lot. People carry such things, and they remember all the way even up to adulthood, and say, okay, you know what? You remember when you thought that you're bigger than me and you could bully me? Now I'm bigger than you. Maybe they have a better profession. And they now use that maybe to lord it over the other one, right? So family dynamics, very crucial, because family dynamics have an effect on how the family business works, right? So when we started the introduction, the lady said, have you ever wondered why the Asian community has good family businesses that succeed over time, while in Africa we have a challenge with that? And to be fair, some of the Asian community also have those challenges, right? So it's just not unique to the Africans or the Kenyans, right? It's a challenge that goes across the divide. So especially nowadays, because of the differences, changes in culture, changes in demography, technology, all that, right? So that's just a brief on the two different things within the family business. Okay. So one thing we always need to ensure is, as you've seen through your comments, is how do we ensure that we have family governance, we don't have, as one written, greed, we don't have issues of succession, as you've said, uh, is is that families need to have honest conversations with each other. What we are realizing is, for example, in one of the big schools here in Kenya, is the father, let me call him Michael, for this discussion. Uh, he started the school with his wife, and the wife, let's use Linda for this case. Linda used to work for the Ministry of Education. She was a teacher within TSC for the longest time, until she retired. And then they have three daughters. In this case, we can call them Mercy, Kathleen, and Anita, right? Mercy and Kathleen don't want to do anything with the business, right? They don't want to be part and parcel of it. But Anita, who's the youngest, wants to be part of it. Now, the problem is their father preferred the two eldest, to take over, and not the youngest, the last one. But she's the one who's interested, and the other two aren't. So in your opinion, right? Of course, you can also give your comments on the chat. What do you think is the issue there? Should the father still insist with the eldest two, or should he start grooming the last one who's interested, even though in his mind he thinks the first two will should the ones who should take over? There's a reconciliation problem from an African perspective, which is a lot of our families believe that the eldest children are the ones who should be keen on the family business and not the youngest. Do you think families should insist? How big, essentially, is our cultural norms in affecting family business? So perhaps I can hear some of your comments on that on the chat.
Yeah, we can put the comments in the chat to start grooming the one who is interested. That's from Joshua. The big problem of family business is the ability to continue succession. I think that was, yes, our culture affects so much. That's Susan. Then to work with a daughter who is willing. And then there is also the eldest is always regarded as the heir, especially if it's a son. Problem with forcing is that there is a risk of someone running down the business since they had no interest in it. Impress and socialize the elder one, involve all of them and support the one most interested, give them equal information. And cultural prejudices interfering with decision making. The fathers should accept their decision and have all of them agree, therefore need for objective. Is it possible that all children are socialized on family business? That's a question from Imelda. But I think we will answer questions at the end. Focus on the one interested in business and many.
Okay. Yeah. And it's interesting to hear some of your answers. So a lot of you are saying focus on the one who's interested in the program. Um, Christopher says there must be some underlying issues. That is why they're not getting involved. Um, Zachary says their father should accept the decision and have all of them agree. Melda says impress and socialize the elder one. Okay. So, and this is just a typical issue within family business, which is if you have 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever number you have, is how do you ensure that for starters, you have someone, at least someone who's interested in the family business. There are others where right now we're already speaking to one who none of the kids want to get involved at all. Um, their careers was totally different from what the family business is. So the kids went to become real professionals while the family business is in beef. So they own abattoirs, and the kids cannot see themselves taking over the abattoirs. One is a doctor, one is a lawyer, and that's the challenge. And this is a very big pain point because the father and mother, see it as a very like betrayal in essence. This abattoirs is what paid for your fees, what paid for your education, what gave you meals in the night. Right now, none of you want to take over, right? So that's just another example. So one thing is that you try and ensure that at least one family member takes over. And how do you do that now? One thing we have missed as most people in family business is that inculcation um, into the family business from a very young age, right? From a very young age. A lot of the businesses we have and why we have in succession planning is that there was no involvement from a very young age. And now, when it comes time to hand over, you can't hand it over because the children have no interest because they've never been part and parcel of the business since they were younger. And that becomes a challenge. So that's the one thing we kind of need to start training the younger generation or the next generation on how to get into the business from a very young age, so that one always has succession. So one of the things, as you said, is the challenges is succession planning, but that's because you have a mistake of parents not sharing or putting the kids into the business at an early age. They also don't share their stories of how the business grew. Remember, usually in these cases, the family business is more than 10 years, 20 years. So there's a 20-year story. The 20-year story also needs to be shared with the next generation, which most people don't. And usually when the next generation wants to get involved, it becomes too overwhelming because they lack the knowledge that the parents had. Okay? It becomes too much. You see, there were a lot of moving parts that the parents just knew how to do subconsciously. They never had any issues with it. Like, for example, if they had a supplier, they knew where to get. If they had a customer, they knew how to talk to them because over the years, they've built it slowly. So look at it this way. When a guy is going for a hike and they keep on adding 500 grams to the bag that they're holding, right? Then it is a point where the bag is around 15, 20 kilos and they want to pass that bag to a younger person. It becomes too heavy and overwhelming. And that's similar to what we are seeing, right? Then the other part is governance, which is ensuring that there is some type of accountability within the family. Now, one of the biggest challenges we've realized is that a lot of family businesses have never thought of the element of governance, internal and more so external. So what I mean here by internal and external is, internal means you have maybe a board meeting every quarter within the family members. And then external, I mean that you start putting in external board members, people who are not part of the family, to be part of the governance, right? That was the biggest issue that Tuskys had. Tuskys could not agree on having an external independent director on their board. They just wanted it to be family, right? And we all know that there are benefits of having someone who's external within a board meeting, right? So one of them is that the external guy tends to diffuse any tension that the family members have, because it's no longer about the family, it's about the business, right? And so that's one thing that is lacking within our family business, that governance element. Now, you can see that there's a three-circle model when you're talking about family. So what you're seeing there is that in a family, as I said, the family business is different from a normal business in that a normal business has just the two circles, which is ownership and business. Now, while the family business, you add in the third one. So as you can see that in all the intersecting circles, you have family members who are owners of the family business. You have family business who also work, sorry, family members who also work of the family business, the cycle called family employees. Okay. And then you also have people who are not family and work in the business. And in some cases, you could have people who are not in the family and also own the business, right? So the best sweet spot is the three there, which is family. They own the business, they're part of the family, and they also work in the business, right? So the reason why we have this three cycle model is because, just like the example I've given you of Michael, Marcy, and the three daughters, is you end up having family members who are owners of the business, but they don't want to work for the business. You also have family members who are the owners of the business and want to work for the business. And then sometimes you have people who are not family owners, but of course we'll focus on the family owners, right? So usually it's important to have this three-cycle model just to trace how the interactions are within the family business, because that's very, very important. So with the example that I've given you, I'd say that it's important that they groom the one that is interested. And that's the important element. For any family business to go within any generation, it has to be the people who are interested, right? And that becomes very, very crucial. If there is no interest, then it's very, very difficult for the business to sustain. Even though we already know culture is a very big point of our continent, that especially, as one said in the chat, if it's a firstborn son, what tends to happen is that the father or the mother try to ensure that it's the firstborn son who takes over the business, even if he doesn't want, or if there are other children who want but they are not interested. They are usually very geared towards giving the firstborn son, right? Now, in other cases, the firstborn could be a lady, and the siblings as sons, and you still find that the father and mother still want to give the family business to the sons and not to the lady who's the eldest. maybe perhaps because one of them, they feel that she will get married and she will go to the other family, and then there'll be no family business to continue. So all that, as I discussed, is part of the issue of the governance structures, which need to be discussed and put down into something called the family constitution. So the family constitution is essentially what people agree within the family will happen in every instance, right? So who will do what? Who will take over finance, for example, or who will take over operations? Who will be the CEO? What happens when you get married? What happens when you get children? So every issue that can be thought of is usually written down in the family governance constitution. Now, in itself, it's not a legal document, this family constitution. However, you can amend it and have it included in the articles of association for it to be now a parcel of the legal document, which you can say that for any issues, please refer to the family constitution, right? So these are some of the things we are now seeing and we are trying to implement with other family businesses, which is ensure that they have family governance through the family constitution, ensure that everything is clear, ensure that they have a real board, because most of them don't have. And we also encourage the boards to have in external independent directors, right? Now, with that in place, we now come to the actual doing of the business. What we are seeing is that usually one of the problems of them not being able to engage is that they're afraid to leave their family business to outsiders. So they still want to do the day-to-day. And sometimes as a business grows, professionalism becomes very, very important. And for professionalism means that you have to hire professionals. So one thing we train people is how to disengage so that you can have outsiders come and take over. For example, you find a family business wants to run everything from marketing to procurement to finance to operations, and they can't do it, right? So one thing we are trying to teach them is, can they be able to disengage from the day-to-day so that they can have professionals run the businesses, and then they can sit at board level. And whichever child wants to run the day-to-day can be involved in it, but in conjunction with professionals, right? So we are learning that people are really afraid to disengage. Now, a company cannot grow if the founders are still doing the day-to-day, because then there is no element of the strategic approach of growing the business. So without giving time to think or to strategize, then the founders of the family end up doing the day-to-day, caught up in a day-to-day, that they don't think of how to acquire customers or maintain customers, right? So when we say that they need to prioritize the customer, this usually is very, very difficult if there is no outside view to things. And the only way the family business can get the outside view to things is if they disengage from a day-to-day. But it's easier said to done. Let me add that. It's not easy for people who started their own business to allow external parties to come in. And so there's a whole mindset shift that is needed. And even as people start, right now, we are also trying to train people who are just starting their family business to always be aware that at some point there'll be external people who will be involved in the family business, be it employees, be it directors of the board. And in some cases, if you want to grow, you might have investors as well. That it's important that it should not be a closed guarded secret that only family in whatever level. So that the mindset is different going into the family business, which is that at some point there'll be external people, and it's okay. I always tell people some of the biggest companies we know in the world, from Walt Disney to Walmart to Volkswagen to Legos, are all family businesses. most of them are big enough because they listed in a public exchange. Like ours, we have the Nairobi Securities Exchange. But they are still family businesses because the families still have the highest voting power on the strategic decisions of the companies. But they now have external shareholders because they are listed. But they are only able to do that because they are not afraid to have oversight, having external people um, within within the company, right? So the one key thing that I'm going to ensure that we leave here is that the biggest thing that holds us back from the growth perspective of family business, right, is the day-to-day engagement of the family, which does not allow them to be able to be strategic in the way they go forward. And so what I'm just trying to show you here is the things that they cannot analyze or they cannot see because they're running the day-to-day. That is the customer trends, market trends, strategic focus. And that element gets lost because they're really caught up doing the day-to-day, right? And then the last thing is, how do you measure success? What are the key performance indicators? A lot of our family businesses don't have that, both at family level and at family business level. And that is one thing that all family businesses should have. How do we measure success, both at family level and at family business level? So that's pretty much it on the short presentation on family businesses and how to grow them and the challenges they face. So if you have any questions now, I'm willing to take them so that I can hear your thoughts. Anything you have in mind.
Thank you.
Okay,
You can
so
now
any
turn on the
question?
video and pick questions.
Any questions? Any questions? Any questions?
There are questions that had been posted. I shared them with Antonio. Let me just pick. Antonio, are you able to
Antonio,
read?
can you help us on this? Alpha's iPhone's hand is up. Alpha's iPhone.
There were questions that came earlier, like one is it possible that all children are socialized on the family business? And then Noel, you also had a myriad of questions. The parents speak positively about the business. I think maybe these ones were rhetoric. Do they involve the kids at an early age? Do they speak positively about the employees? Or kids don't want to inherit stress? Maybe
I
those
don't
are
think
some of the,
those are questions. They're not questions per se. They were just a response to when he asked what we think happens to family businesses, and they're more rhetoric questions. So maybe Alpha's iPhone has a question. Let him ask because I saw his hand up.
yeah.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Alpha.
This is Kevin, OPP. I have a question for the speaker. In relation to the Indian community, recently I watched or I read a story about the Manu Chandaria family, where he indicated that the wealth is for the family. So my question to the speaker is, what's your take on this trust that is brought up, or foundations that are created by family? Is it something worth having or worth considering? And what are the pros and cons of having family foundations?
Well, for family foundation, now, foundations generally are usually used because of tax purposes. So let's say your company makes 5 million shillings net profit. Now, KRA will want some part of it. So usually, just to reduce it from 5 million, you say out of this 5 million, we'll give 2 million to our foundation. And that reduces the tax that you give KRA. which is allowable, right? You're allowed to have a foundation and to support it. But you also talked about a trust. From a legal entity element, a trust is very important. And usually we kind of encourage the main family, patriarch or matriarch, whoever started the company, to have a trust, because the trust ensures there's longevity. Why? Because a trust will have trustees. Now, trustees kind of do that, I want to say, external oversight. And usually for the people who end up having trust, it's because maybe the 4 kids or the 3 kids don't want to do anything with the family business, but they want to gain from it, which means they still want maybe an annual dividend check based on the business performance. So instead of, in some cases, people sell the business. So what they do is that they put the business under trust, and then other people take care of the business, and then they just get their dividend, right? So trust is another way. The other way, which if you really want to grow, is to list it on, like in ours, Nairobi Securities Exchange, which has the SME part. It's called Growth Enterprise Market Segment. The NSE allows you as an SME to list, and the requirements to list up for SMEs are very, very, they are not as stringent as for the main one, right? Unfortunately, we also realize that most people don't know about that. Most people don't know that SMEs can list in our securities exchange. And one of the interesting thing that you have going there is you don't even have to be profitable. A lot of people think you have to be profitable to list. But that's one thing. Remember, in all this, one thing that is coming clearly is that there's that lack of oversight in family business. And without that oversight, then there's a challenge for it to grow. And the best oversight comes from adding external, but doesn't mean it cannot be done internally. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes,
Yes,
you have.
there are a few other
Thank you, sir.
questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, there are quite some other questions, like from Caroline of Huru Consult. Very useful information. What are the steps for letting go and professionalizing? Is a guideline available? Is there a guide that is available that can be used for that?
So ideally, thank you, Carol, for that question. Ideally, the letting go should start when you're starting the company or you're starting your family business. The mindset that we are referring to, the mindset here. The biggest problem is once you're into it too deep, let's say 10 years, 15 years, is correcting your headspace to allow the letting go. Okay. So one thing we are realizing, and it's unfortunate, is that a lot of the family businesses we are interacting with are being forced to learn how to let go, because now the mzee or the lady is too old, and he or she knows that they can't keep doing this for the next 5 years. And therefore, they are trying to see or find a way of ensuring that all this legacy they've built for 20 years doesn't go down the drain. And so they're coming into Strathmore for some training, for some meetings to help them with ensuring that things are put in place so that they get to let go early on, right? But we want it as early as possible. So when you say what are the steps, is as you begin, you should start having in place standard operating procedures for everyone who's involved within the business, either family or non-family, and that will allow you to start letting go and professionalizing. So having those systems in place, the operations procedures. I hope I've answered.
Thank
Carol.
you. Thank you. Yes, then there is a question from Odiambola Ale, who is asking that some family businesses like Mercedes-Benz, like Toyota, have been there for centuries. What could be their secrets, or could there be something out of what you are saying?
Yes. So, as I have said, the biggest secret they have, and most of them, is they allowed external people to come in. So they are listed or they're in public forums or public domain. And then, secondly, they still allowed the families to have voting control, even though the other shareholders, they still have family voting control. And this allows them to have, they still have the power on the strategic focus, right? And then, of course, they have the family constitution, which says that which family members will be part of that family control that is in the company. So remember, if right now it's very simple if you're talking about father, mother, and 3 kids, but like we met one who's from Switzerland, and their company is on the 8th generation, which means they're around 300. If you draw their pyramid, around 300. So you ask yourself, of the 300, how many of them will be part of the board of a company? Right? See, all 300 can't fit in. So they have to have agreed on who amongst the 300 is part and parcel of that board. And then for the ones who aren't, what happens to them? So of the 300, they agreed 10 will be on the board, but the 10 kept on briefing the other 290 in their own family board. Okay, so there's also a family board. So ideally, as I've said, is that governance. And then if you have that constitution that states clearly what is going to happen as the family grows bigger, then you can end up having even 8th, 9th, 10th generation. I hope I've answered that as well.
That's beautiful. Yes. Well, there is also another question probably related to that from Susan M. How do you convince the founder to trust a competent outsider? Because sometimes they would rather hire even a distant relative that brings in than bring in an outsider, especially at decision-making level. Are there training? This is the second part of the question. Are there trainings designed for this type of business owners?
Now, unfortunately, usually for that to happen, they need it has to be progressive. I also understand what you're saying. If the founder did not have, as I was answering Carol's question, if the founder did not have the professionalism element as when he was starting, it becomes difficult as they go by. Now, in order to bring it back, the professionalism, there is a hybrid way of doing it. So usually like for us, what we suggest is start by picking a professional family member to take over. And it doesn't have to be a direct one. It can be indirect. Or in certain scenario, like now when they come to us, because they come to Stratford because we have a very strong alumni network, we help them get the external professionals to come in by being part and parcel of the journey to work with them to that, right? So because they come in because they trust more, and they've gone through maybe 1 or 2 of our courses, and so they seek us to help them with that transition, right? By themselves, it's very difficult to do the transition. Usually they need some help to walk through that transition if they've not had the need or seen the need to ever have professionals. So the transition becomes a bit more difficult. So by themselves, they're not able to do it. So you kind of need someone to help you walk through that transition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think there are not any other question, but there is one which probably is not very related, but you can probably talk about it as we close. How can one get information on listing in NSE? From Olewe.
Yeah, for that, there is the website. Just go to the NSE website. Everything is there. There's nothing. This is public information because the NSE is a public company as well. So just go to the website. Everything is there. You can even call their offices. Then Noah says most businesses start as a side hustle, get a few tenants. When do we professionalize this? Yeah. So one of the biggest things, and you're right, Noah, is that we don't really have real businesses as well. A lot of us think we have businesses in Kenya. Well, in essence, we don't have. Mostly because there's no continuity in terms of what you're solving to the society, right? Um, the thing is that there's no issue with it starting being as a side hustle, right? The problem is when you want to grow, then you cannot have it as a side hustle, and that's one of the biggest problems we try and tell people. There is no business in this world that has grown as a side hustle. At some point, one person has to get to it fully. Usually, the challenge is the uncertainty of getting into it fully. Because people are usually very okay with one foot in employment and another foot in the side hustle. But you cannot grow it until you come fully into it. Now, when you get fully into it, you may have to grow it maybe a year or two personally before you start putting in the systems and professionalizing. One thing, though, we have going for our country, at least in Kenya, is that we are very educated, we have a very good skilled labor force. So professionalization should not be an issue. Getting professionals in your business should not be an issue.
Thank you. I think we can end it there because of time. Noel?
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation. I'm going to ambush someone to give a vote of thanks, and I'm sure that person knows who he is. Maurice, kindly.
I just want to thank so much our speaker for today. The topic that was shared today was very, very timely and very close to my heart, because many of us in this room have been brought up by parents who started businesses of different nature, maybe juakali, workshop, welding, etc. And it is very common that many of us, after we become professionals, we forget the businesses that brought us here. So I found this particular class very, very relevant and very insightful and very helpful for everyone. So I would like to thank you so much, our speaker, for today. And thank you so much also, Power Monday, for organizing these insightful talks. As some of us even made comments on the space, this is a training that should have come earlier. It should not even be coming at these high advanced levels. It should even start from childhood, when people are being prepared to prepare for, to understand their family businesses. Like, the speaker said that one of the challenges, our parents don't even tell us how they started. Sometimes they just keep this to themselves, and then when they are old, that is when children are coming up and they want to take up. So thank you so much, our speaker. This was very relevant. I hope you will come back again, because a lot of it has really planted a seed of interest for a number of us, and would like to hear more and more, and to get more about this course as offered at Strathmore University. And as I said to Paul Peter and the team, and it's been very successful. And I just want to thank you very much, and also for calling me to say the vote of thanks. God bless you, and have a powerful week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maurice. You know that I like you a lot. You know that. Thank you so much. And I also think families should just heal. Families are just going through so much. You should just heal, and we should all stop this entitlement thing. Yeah. So just a reminder, we have a WhatsApp group. If you want to join the WhatsApp group, there's a link that Live Your Dream has dropped on the chat. You can drop your link. Remember, we do this every Monday. Antonia, any admin?
Yeah, just a side issue. Edwin Obonyo, the speaker, has not given us his contacts, and some of us may want to list our SMEs on the stock exchange. Some of us may want to have a family constitution. And I believe Edwin is the best person to advise us on such things. So I would kindly request Edwin to put his contacts in the chat so that moving forward, any of us who want to interact with him can do so uh, without coming back to us. Back to you, Lady Noel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Malvin. Edwin, now onto you. You will put your contacts on the chat so that anyone who wants to reach out to you can do that. Yes, or Tieno Paul Peter. Peter or Tieno.
The other thing I'd like to say is most times we don't document our our story, our progress. You know, you may not have had time to share everything, but if you can just put some documentation. I was dealing with some MSMEs, I think for some 2 years, and I realized that even if they go for a funeral, the business is in a funeral. If they go for a wedding, the business is halted because she or he is in a wedding. So, and just trying that process of handing over or having somebody else who can run your business along the way entails also having some proper documentation that, for example, somebody is running a chicken business and you know what time they are supposed to be fed, what time they are supposed to be given water or injected. So do you have this outlined so that if you leave somebody, they will be able to follow and actually get the profits or get the production going? Who are the customers, who are the suppliers, and things like that. We need to start from that point. Anyway, thank you all. The reason I was invited was to share if there is additional information with respect to our activities. We have a meet and greet coming next month. That is something that we've got to remember. We had indicated that 30th of March, but seems that date we may need to adjust it because I know that will be an Easter weekend, and many people may not necessarily have it convenient or traveling or something. So we will need to adjust, but it should be around that particular date, either a week after or a week earlier or something like that. But that's the date. A meet and greet is a place where people come in person and place face to the voices, to the names, and also interact. And you can always build business with people you know, people you are friends with. So you build new connections. You never know. Like Noel likes saying, you never know where the next your next big deal is coming is coming from. She likes talking of billionaire. I don't know. So
But of course,
it's a good opportunity to come and interact and build connections and grow together. We are going to have 3 of them this year. The last one will be an evening one, where we will also have dinner. We enjoy some music and the likes. And that should be around, no, is it October or November? I think October. We mentioned something like that. So let's put them in the diary. If you're not in the WhatsApp group where we always put that, you can put you can fill in the form given in the Live Your Dream page, the page for Power Monday. And then we also have lots of other things coming up that we always do. For example, there is also the market day. On Wednesdays in the WhatsApp group, we share what we do. People post their flyers and businesses, whatever. Every first Wednesday of the month, we meet live like this and we do pitches. Yes, somebody can pitch for us their business and ask people to buy. So lots of other activities come in with Power Mondays, and you are all welcome. And by the way, if you wish, if your company wishes to sponsor this program someday or some other Monday, you can always reach out and we can talk about that and how it comes to be. Thank you all.
thank you.
To you, we can pray and go. I think
Thank you so much, Christopher Witty. Yes, there'll be a recording that will be shared after editing. So kindly give us 2 to 3 days. The recording will be there on our YouTube page that is also going to be shared on our WhatsApp. So
I
guys, you're blessed.
Sorry, I
Pardon?
had shared the YouTube link. Kindly just check it.
Oh,
I
I've
had
seen
shared
it
in the
down here.
chat the YouTube link. Yes, it's YouTube. Let me just put it again. youtube.com/@power monday. So we can subscribe there. This thing should be there by Wednesday, and all the previous.
Okay, thank you so much. And also before we pray and just log out, Edwin Obonyo has shared his LinkedIn, and I've also seen he shared his email address. So if you wanted to get in touch with him, you can get in touch with him through the shared contact. So guys, you're blessed. Your week is blessed. Your going out is blessed. Your coming in is blessed. You are blessed. Go and manifest out there. Amen. Have a great week.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, I hadn't